I have one more question, okay, that I think isn't true. I don't
Okay.
believe that there was a bunch of deadbeat I know, hold on. A bunch of deadbeat dads before before no fault divorce.
It's hard when you try to go back prior to no fault and find stats. But there are some statistics that you can find that show that that was not necessarily what was going on. For
Mm,
one thing, I've been working on a piece, it's been taking me months, but the National Association of Women Lawyers, remember that name, they started in 1911 to get no fault divorce. That's where the actual initial push came. And these were a bunch of like radical progressive feminists of
mhm,
the time. They were some of the first like licensed female lawyers, and this was the first thing they wanted to do is get no fault and unilateral divorce, meaning just the woman could file and the husband did not have to like agree to the divorce. So they wanted both of those things, and it took them a few decades of pushing for it because they really couldn't find proof that the men were, deadbeats. They couldn't really find proof that like overwhelmingly the men are abusive. So they had to kind of create a different narrative. They had to kind of push a different angle because they didn't have any proof that that was the case, right?
mhm.
So they had to say, well, actually the problem is that people just really don't want to be together. They're very unhappy in marriages. That's an old-timey silly idea whose time has passed. And so they'll lie to get the divorce, and that's the problem. They actually argued, it's filling up the courts, it's backing up the courts, it's taking up the judge's time. People are having to lie or commit adultery to get the divorce granted. That did happen. To an extent, that did happen, but they couldn't even use the argument like they wanted to. Their initial idea was we're going to prove that the men are all drunks and that they're beating and raping and abusing, but they couldn't prove that because it really wasn't true.
Mm.
And there were agencies that kept track of this data. People think that nobody tracked this until the last few decades. That's wrong. The Women's Christian Temperance Union desperately wanted this to be the case, and they tried too to prove that men are these abusive drunks who are just drinking at the bar all day and coming home and abusing the whole family. But they couldn't because it really just appeared not to be true. Because women would do the same things, and alcoholism is not just a male problem, things like this. So this was a really progressive agenda. They couldn't find like actual proof and statistics or data to back up these claims, so they went with a whole different argument. So I feel like if there was a whole association of women lawyers wanting this to be the case and they're desperately looking, and they would even probably be willing to fudge numbers a little bit if they could, but they couldn't. If they
Mhm.
could have gone with that argument, if it was true and if they had any proof of it, I think that's what they would have focused on, but they couldn't. So they went with something else. They went with, oh, it's just costing the legal system a lot of time and money. So there's just no evidence I can find that actually supports that idea.
Rachel's like a walking encyclopedia. Where can the people find you? Gonna plug your stuff?
You can go to my YouTube channel. It's just Rachel Wilson. You can go to my Substack and find all of the, if you want all the facts and the history and the data, it's there. That's rwilson.substack.com. Or you can buy my book on Amazon. It's called Occult Feminism: The Secret History of Women's Liberation.
It's a really easy read too. She make it very simple, easy to read.